Okay, I first want to start off, we're going to talk about Mishenichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha, and I wanted to say over Maisa first, showing you the great Siyata D'Shmaya in Kiyum HaMitzvahs, and this one is especially relating to Parshas Zachor, and the Maisa goes like this. There was a Yid, his name was Reb Lezer, and he was a soldier, b'miluim, in the Israeli army. I'm assuming that it's okay to say that. Anyways, so his job was, this was happening in the time when Saddam Hussein was shooting Scud missiles at Eretz Yisrael. So in the hospitals, they needed all the reserve soldiers to stay there and to help out, and that if something would fall by the hospital, to put everybody in the protected rooms and to seal them up with tape and plastic and all the things that I had to do at that time. So this was his job. And problem was that he was far away. It was a big walk to get to a Frum area. He was a Frum person, and he wanted to hear Parshas Zachor. And Parshas Zachor, as we all know, is D'Oraisa. And the army had a Sefer Torah that they brought to the hospital, but it was what we'll call almost kosher. So he didn't want to hear the Kriya for Parshas Zachor from a Sefer Torah that was not 100% to his standard. So he just figured, he went to his captain and he said, listen, Shabbos morning, I need to go and to shul, wherever it is, and I'm able to hear Parshas Zachor. So the captain told him, listen, we need you here because in case, something falls down, a missile comes or something, and we're going to be a big tumult. We need all the help we can have, and we need all hands on deck, and you absolutely cannot leave. He says, but I have to. So he said, okay, you could go for 2 hours. So he figured, okay, 2 hours will give me enough time to find a shul nearby, and here I'll come there right when they're learning Parshas Zachor, and then I'll be able to be Mekayim the mitzvah. So he had a few people in his phone book, he's tried calling. So he calls the first guy and no answer, the phone doesn't answer. Calls the next guy, busy. Calls the third guy, and there's the people he had in his phone book, and finally somebody answered. And the kid says, kid picks up and he says, I have to tell you that my parents are away for Shabbos, there's nobody going to be home, so I'd love to help you, but I don't know. He was calling, he wanted to find out where the shul is and what time they start and what time they'll get up to Parshas Zachor and so forth. He's trying a whole day and his mom is going crazy because he doesn't know what to do. Parshas Zachor, Zechib of HaMitzvah, D'Oraisa. Yeah, he has to be in the hospital, but Parshas Zachor. And so he keeps on calling all day long, keeps on calling the number that was busy, and it was busy the entire day. He didn't know what to do. Finally, right before Shabbos, he decided he's going to try it one last time. So he calls up and he says, hi, my name is Reb Lezer, and I'm in Miluim, in the hospital, and I'm looking for a Parshas Zachor. Can you tell me if there's a Parshas Zachor, where the shul is and what time they're going to lane and everything else? So the guy who picks up the phone, he knew him from a long time ago, he says, Reb Lezer, this is you? He says, you're not going to believe what happened. He says, you know why the phone was busy a whole day? Because my shver is in the hospital where you're stationed, and there's no minyan or good Sefer Torah there, and we have here a brand new Sefer Torah, so we're trying to put together a minyan to go to the hospital that we could lay in Parshas Zachor, and you are the best Balkaira we know. So this is mamish zugetroffen that you're the Balkaira, and you're looking for us and we're looking for you. Rebbeinu Shalom is showing Chavivus HaMitzvah makes it happen. You could call it Hishtadlus, you could call it whatever you want. But Lamaisa, as we know, we always speak about, Rebbeinu Shalom runs the world, as we know. Now that we know that there's a special Shefa, a special Ha'ara coming down to us, starting from Mishenichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha, going through certainly up until Purim, and then it continues on through Nisan. So I was just thinking, why is Parshas Tetzaveh this year anyhow, Miyuchis to Purim this year? So the Nichnas Adar I'll get to it soon, But as we know, the parsha starts off, Yikchu elecha shemen zayis zach lamar, right? So why dafka shemen zayis zach? Why do we need shemen zayis zach, right? So I was thinking like this. What does it say about drinking or eating shemen? That it helps out in your chachma, right? So if it's shemen zayis zach, so if it's a pure oil, there's no shmarim, there's no sediment in the oil, so it'll give you a much clearer chachma. We're not talking so much on a physical basis, we're talking more so on a ruchnius basis. We know that on Purim, there's an inyan of kol ha-poshit yad noisnin loi, that we're not baidik to see who the ani is. During the year we have to be baidik to make sure, otherwise I guess you'll be over baltashkis, right? I'm talking from our end, and the same thing is true by Kodesh Brichu, when he's giving over to people the shefa that he wants to give over from people asking all kinds of things, so he's going to give it over, but he's going to give it over to make sure the guy's a hagon, he's roif to get that bracha. On Purim, there is a musuk in Kabbalah, with not going into the detail, which is called that the aura of Purim is coming from Moichin Yisoid Abba. Abba, in Kabbalah terms, is another word, or it's a keneged of Sfiras or Midas HaChachma. So the fact that we need to have Shemen Zayis Zach is showing us that it's going keneged Chachma. Why? Because since Chachma is coming from a very, very high place, it's what we call Moichin, it's what we call from above, not from this world, from the Ruchniistic world. And up in that Madrega, there is no what we call Klippas. So since it's coming from Chachma, there's no Klippas, so therefore we had to have Shemen Zayis Zach. Also, there's no Shmarim in that Chachma. And therefore, the Shefa that will come down on Purim comes down without any boundary, without any Mesachim, which is separations or anything like that. So therefore it says, Shemen Zayis Zach Lamars, Miram is in it, that all the Shefa that comes on Purim, and which is now going to be Parsha Zachor. The reason why it's in Parsha Zachor, which is this Shabbos, and as opposed to a different one, is because in order to get any Shefa from Kodesh Brichu, the first thing is you have to get rid of the bad. And the rid of the bad is Zachor v'al tishkach the Amalek. And it doesn't only mean that you have to go kill all the people who are from Amalek, but it means that we have to erase from within ourselves all the shlechte midas. Also, you see that Mordechai is called what? Is Moradachia. What's the taich of Moradachia? The taich of Moradachia is a keli that's super pure. Right? What is super pure? Zach. Right? So there's a siman also that Purim, in order to get Yena Shefa, has to be in a madrega of what we call super pure, which is Semen Zayis Zach, which is also connected to Chachmi Ilah, where the Shefa is coming from. One shtickle. Noch a shtickle is, it says, Mishanichnas Arba Marben Besimcha. It could be I said this once, but as you know, that Mishanichnas Arba Marben Besimcha, Simcha is Chamisha. Chamisha is Miram is what? Chamisha is Miram is Chamisha Chumshei Torah. And this, what it says, Mishanichnas Arba Marben Besimcha, is coming to show us that Simcha is Torah. Because Chamisha Chumshei Torah is Simcha, is Oitzi is Simcha. So it's Meramis to us, Mishanichnas Adam Marben Besimcha, you should learn more. Raya L'davar, because we say by Mishanichnas Av, Mematin Besimcha. Why is Av Mematin Besimcha? Because you have one day in the month that you can't learn. So therefore it's Mematin Besimcha, you're learning less. Right? So that's a Raya that the learning is Keneged Simcha. So in Av is Memayatin because you have less learning, because you have a day of Tisha B'Av, and in Adar is Memarben B'Simcha, and of course, as everybody knows, just from a personal perspective, that the real Simcha is not from making money or a good meal. The real Simcha obviously is only from learning Torah. Now, Nachazach is why is Megillas Esther called Megillas Esther and not Megillas Mordechai ve'Esther? Just on a simple word is to say that when the world was created with balance. Yom and Laila, Or and Chayshech, everything that there is has a balance, right? It's what we call a maskala, or in Hebrew it's called a mishkal. The Rebbe Shalom created the whole world balanced. So what happened by the Nes of Purim? What happened by the Nes of Purim was that you had Hester Panim, everything seemed al pi teva, and then after, so to speak, after the Teva came out the Nes, right? So the Nes was hidden in what we call a Hester Panim. So what is Megillah? Megillah is to reveal the Nes, to show what was going on. So Megillah's Esther is prat to be Megala the Hester. So it had to be Zelu Umazeh, that's why it's called Megillah's Esther, and not as opposed to being called Megillah's Mordechai Esther. It's not a Pashat of art, but I think it's just simple Pashat Pshat. One more thing I wanted to say is that why is Dafka, I mean, you could ask the same question on every month, but why is it that Dafka in Adar is Mazel Adar Dogim? Every month has its own Mazel, everyone has a reason for it, but since we're in Adar, so I'm focusing on Mazel Adar Dogim. So, as we know, since there's a Riboy Simcha, one of the things that create a Riboy Simcha is pshat that there's less, what we'll call mekatrogim, less klipas, all these things, all the, what we call it, I don't know, I want to say evil inclinations because that's Yetzer Hara, I don't know exactly the right word for it, but we'll call it a klipa, or kali. The word is like what? That dogim do not have ayin hara, right? A lot of the things that happen in this world that are what we call not good, is coming from ayin hara. By a dog has no ayin hara. So one of the reasons you could say is because since the mazel is dogim and dogim has no ayin hara, so therefore you could say that it's a siba for extra simcha. The other reason is, more than that I should say, is that Purim is like a me'ein olam haba. Why? Because since all this shefa of Purim is coming from a place called Chachmi Ilah, it's coming from a very high place, and that's really only shaykh in a me'ein olam haba setting, like you have on Shabbos. And just like you see on Shabbos, there's an inyan of me'ein olam haba, and there's an inyan to eat fish, because fish is a min hamuchan of me'ein olam haba. And so too, even though there's no special inyan to eat fish on Purim, but the mazel of Adar would be fish, because there's no, what we'll call mekatrogim that are coming out over here. So therefore, the achila that we have on Purim and the shtia that we have on Purim, if you look in the Sfarim, it's achal ka and shas ka, which is supposed to be giving you food for your moichin. So therefore, dafka, the fish, is first of all, it's like a me'ein olam haba. It has like nothing bad in it. You don't have to salt it, you don't have to shecht it. You could just eat it straight. That's what we call min hamuchan. And it also, the nachazach is that since it's always in the water, so it's like a pchina of hester panim, right? So therefore also the dogim is behester panim. So too the Nes of Purim was behester panim. On that note, we will continue a different day.
Would you say that